Hello and welcome to episode 41. And this time we're talking all about theming.
We are. See, I thought we'd already done an episode on theming, but turns out we just talk about it quite a lot generally, because I feel like you really like theming.
Spoken about theming in the past, especially when we talk about specific rides and, why I rank certain rides over others. We've spoken about it with probably in involvement with ride soundtracks and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. It comes up pretty much in any general topic about roller coasters to some degree. But yeah, this one's a wider look at the world of theming.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? What's theming, Zoe?
Yeah, what is theming?
You tell me.
Theming is like... I don't know, because I remember back in the day, before I knew about all this kind of stuff, I used to hear theming and be like, what is that? I just kind of thought it was like if a ride had a brand kind of thing, an IP. But basically it's everything to do with how a ride is decorated or
presented.
Yeah, so like sounds, smells. It's like all the senses except taste. Because well, you never know, there might be a taste element on some rides. Anyway, but it's like audio, any smells they've got going on. Obviously the physical like look of the whole area and the ride. So like colour schemes, props, statues, signs, whatever. Like everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I'm trying to think what else I've missed.
When we think about a theme park, back in the day, probably what a theme park was, as opposed to an amusement park, was a park that had a collection of themes built directly into it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Disney's a good example of this, even though the themes are obnoxious, is the different areas. Tomorrowland, that's a theme, and everything in that area
it's like
is
coherent.
meant to be themed coherently together.
Yeah.
So if you kind of take that direction of what a theme is, you're giving an area, a ride, some kind of additional design to give it a certain aesthetic, give it a certain feel, a certain vibe.
Yes.
And I think, probably back in the start, theme parks were exactly that. They were very much themed areas to specific things. People like to use Western all the time. So you have a Western themed area. You have a dragon themed area or a medieval themed area, But as we've kind of gotten further in time, I think the idea of a theme has kind of blended to become an all-encompassing word. And I say that because some rides you might not consider themed, but I would kind of consider it theming.
What do you mean?
So an example would be like Icon.
Wow. Now aren't we going to get into the thing of stylization?
Well, this is it, but, Icon doesn't have an overarching theme. It's inspired by and as Amanda Thompson said, it's stylized. But then, Icon looks better than, say, your average Six Flags roller coaster that has nothing going on. Looks better than Steel Vengeance, because that's got nothing going on. That's
an interesting question, though, is like, at what point does a ride become themed?
Exactly.
Because I don't know if you said to me, oh, what's Icon's theme? Well, I wouldn't have been able to tell you, other than what we know now as kind of Japan influence.
Yeah, I don't think it has a theme. But I think it has theming.
Right, but I would say that it's just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
That they've thought of a nice colour scheme, they've got some nice materials in the station.
But then when does that... So is...
Because the purpose of what they've designed it as isn't telling a story or throwing off some serious vibes.
But then I would say even what we consider well-themed rides, such as Taron, isn't telling a story.
No, but it's a story of like a place.
A place, sure.
You know where you are, whereas Icon isn't so much a place as the shed is a shed. It's just got cladding on it. Do you see what I'm saying? But it's not like art that's made to look like rocks or something.
Yeah, but then I guess this is where, for me, it blurs, because as soon as you, say, slapped a full Japanese theme on it, then the same pieces, the same elements of the ride, design, would be considered theming. If Amanda Thompson turned around and said, "Oh yeah, it's themed to Japan, Japanese culture," then
You
would
mean
class,
as it is now?
Yeah, then you would class the entrance gate and the weird thing on top of the station as theming. Most likely,
But
most people would.
But if she had said Icon is themed to Japan, I would say, well, you didn't put a lot of effort in then, did you?
No.
So
Sure.
I'd say that's rubbish theming then, isn't it? But
Yes.
because she's branded it as stylized, I'm fully on board with it because that's an appropriate word for the level of
Right.
kind of out there decoration,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
See, in my eyes, it's still theming, I think.
I would say it's in the brackets of theming. I'd say the ride's not unthemed, but I would say the theming is like... I feel like there's 3 levels of theming. So in the middle, you've got like an ordinarily themed ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Such as...
example, Oblivion.
Okay.
It's got colour scheme, it's got signs, it's got the metal kind of grate thingies.
Uh-huh.
It's got the whole symbol and stuff like that, the videos of the guy.
The thing is, if Oblivion was built today, I reckon people would go, that's a stylized ride. Because it doesn't have anything major, it's just all built in that kind of 90s vibe, 90s style, isn't it? There's no real major theming elements.
Okay, let me think of a different example.
But you see what I mean, though?
Yeah, okay, but that's at the bottom of...
At the time, I reckon that Oblivion was themed. Many people would consider it a themed roller coaster.
Okay, but let's go through the rest of my scale before we talk about where things fit on
Sure.
it. Because, okay, so you've got the middle.
Yeah.
Let me think of another example.
A new middle coaster.
Okay, what's one of the ones in the Poltons dinosaur area?
Flight of the Pterosaur.
Sure, that one.
Yeah.
It's got dinosaurs, it's got
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
You know you're in a Jurassic area.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what takes it to the extended level, which is like advanced theming. So we got middle theming, which is like standard theming.
Yeah.
Above that is advanced theming.
Right.
Things like Wicker Man.
Yeah.
You've got smells.
Uh-huh.
You've got sounds, a pre-show, serious vibes going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like next level, especially with the smells and just all the additional stuff that they've got on there. That's advanced theming.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of Disney rides obviously will fit into that category as well. But then below the standard one is like stylized rides where obviously it's not just like an American style coaster where they've just put the coaster there and not bothered at all. But it's got some kind of like colour scheme going on and all the queue line area and the station, the decor or the materials it's made out of fit together and they have a clear like theme within it all. But it's not overly in your face like we want you to be in Japan.
Yeah. So a clear aesthetic design and direction.
Yeah.
That looks good, but isn't perhaps anything particular.
Yeah. And it's got elements of stuff like, for example, Icon's entrance.
Mm.
Or there's some trees, am I right in thinking?
Where?
The blossomy stuff.
There might be, yeah.
There's some kind of blossom stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's kind of hints at what the theme would be, but then if you replicated Icon and actually themed it to maybe standard or even advanced level, like it would be a lot more obvious.
Okay. So let's go through some rides and put them in your tier system.
Okay, but do you agree with this then?
Ish. I think
Ish.
3 is definitely not enough in terms of how you'd
But
categorise.
that's where when you suggested Oblivion was more stylized, I think it's somewhere between stylized
1 or 2.
and standard theming.
Yeah, because it does have a story to it.
Yeah.
More so than other rides do.
Because if you took Icon and added some screens and they made a video with
Icon
a
has
story
no
of
story.
like...
There's no reason for it to exist.
At least with Oblivion, there's like
There's
the
a
guy
reason.
saying "Don't look down" or whatever
Well,
he
yeah,
says.
it's meant to be some sort of like, I don't know,
There's
torture device or whatever.
there's a catch line.
Yeah. So, okay. So you put Oblivion in the middle, 1.5.
Sure.
Right.
Or slightly below.
Nemesis,
Bog standard middle.
2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Standard theming.
I think that's fair. Nemesis has got a theme station and a storyline to it with audio. It just looks cool. Let's think of some. I mean, Helix is a good one.
Definitely stylized.
Definitely stylized.
That's the same level of as Icon.
It, in a way, yeah, I agree. Icon has a better station inside for sure.
Yeah.
Way better.
Helix is like even lower than Icon.
Yeah,
but
I agree. Helix is not a themed coaster.
No. But
whatsoever.
I think the appeal of Helix is more that it's on the hillside.
Yes, of course.
And
Like
also
Nemesis with its terrain.
Yeah.
Helix shares that kind of aspect.
Yeah.
But then it also kind of goes for this weird
Computer games.
Yeah. Modern. It's a bit of a sellout of a theme.
Yeah.
Honestly, but
I like the colour scheme.
Yeah.
As colours go.
I don't like all the concrete.
No. But because Helix is so good, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's not bad. As a ride goes and as Helix looks, it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like 1 and a bit, maybe. Mm-hmm. Wildfire.
Standard 2.
What? Why is it a 2?
2's the middle, like standard theming, right?
But it's not. What theming is Wildfire?
There's all like in the station. There's all like wood cutting bits.
Sure.
That's a standard
That's
ordinary theme.
That's stylization in my eyes.
No.
Because it doesn't extend outside of the station. There's nothing in that ride.
Yeah, but what ride?
The area, nothing around it.
Yes, but so you think that Taron would be a standard theming?
No,
so that's advanced? Do you see what I mean? To me, advanced is that it does go outside of
everywhere.
the station.
Yeah, but I don't think just because a ride has a few bits and bobs in the station, it qualifies as a themed coaster.
No, but I think you're getting mixed up with me saying that that's quality theming.
No, of course.
I'm just telling you the category. It's themed, but it's themed badly. Do you see what I'm saying?
But why isn't it below 2?
Because it's got dedicated wood cutting things.
Yeah, but
And that's the theme it's going for.
the thing is, at this point, like between Icon and that ride, I would say they're on a comparable level in terms of their aesthetic design, right? I would say the only difference is that Wildfire has chosen this woodcutting theme, which is very generic,
Yeah.
and you class as a theme because it is so generic, whereas Icon has chosen more of a Japanese-inspired stylization, which isn't really a known theme, so many people wouldn't class it as one. That's what I'm trying to say is, our perception of what a theme is
see what you
based
mean.
on the historic
Yeah.
classic
The standard themes.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is, imagine there's a tick box
Yes.
for requirements for each of these categories we're talking about here.
Okay.
So for the standard theming category,
Mm-hmm.
I would say you have to have some physical kind of prop that would tell you that this is the theme we're doing.
But what is the theme
But
of
in-
Wildfire?
But let me finish. But in stylized, you don't need any props. You've just got a kind of hint in the colours and the
You've
materials
just got
of what you're doing.
continuity between of a style.
But
Yeah,
if
I
you've
get it.
got props, it moves into standard
But-
because you're obviously stating that this is the
What's
theme.
the theme of Wildfire?
Just log cutters or something, isn't
Garbage.
it?
No.
I know it's bad, but it's still theming.
I don't agree.
But I'm categorizing it based on what type of theming it is, not how good it is.
But then you spoke before about soundtracks and these other aspects of the theme.
Yeah, but you can have a rubbish soundtrack, Harry.
Wildfire has no soundtrack.
Yeah, but
And I would also go back to the vibe a ride gives. Is there any kind of build-up on Wildfire?
no,
there is no
because
anticipation.
it's not advanced theming.
But Icon has that build-up, has that anticipation. This is what I'm trying to say. It's a very difficult thing. Your scale of, theming is purely these elements that are well defined as, classic theming pieces, sets, is flawed.
Yeah, but how can you just throw all of that out the window and be like, forget what we all know about theming in the past, we're starting afresh
can't.
now
You
because
can't.
Icon exists?
No, but there's many more
Do you
rides
see what I
than
mean?
just Icon. But yeah, I get it.
Okay, take
What about... Go on.
take any mine train in the whole world.
Yes.
Is that themed to you or stylized?
See, at this point, right,
I'm gonna prove you wrong.
I would, at this point, because it's such an overdone thing, right, and like most of the time they
all of that,
barely
though.
do anything. I would call it more of a style.
What are you talking about?
Right, so my definition of a theme
Okay.
is paired directly with a sense of purpose.
What? Okay.
So your ride exists for a reason. Take Nemesis. It's a big monster. The ride exists because they wanted to pin the monster down, right? That's it. The track is them pinning it down. Okay. Right? The Smiler, meant to marmalise you, whatever.
Yeah.
Wildfire, no purpose, right?
Right.
This is as far I got.
I see. Okay, I see what your problem is. You want the ride theme to make sense.
I want,
as in,
yes.
They've not just
They've not plopped a random aesthetic design onto it to make it look nice.
to make it just feel like it's in a certain type of world. You want there to be a story of like, this is why this ride is here, because Oblivion is like, you can't look down, you're going to drop into the ground.
I want a purpose, yeah, exactly. Because it gives it a sense of place, it gives it a sense of reason.
Right. But my argument is that is advanced theming.
And this is where I think your scale breaks down, is because certain rides can use those ideas and not be advanced, and certain rides that are advanced don't use those ideas. So Taron has no sense of purpose. Apparently, and the people who made it will probably argue that, it's got a storyline. Hell no. What they did
No, but it doesn't have a storyline that is obvious to the person who's in the queue line.
No, the storyline is utter bollocks. It's garbage, right? It's
folklore, right?
No, it's apparently the whole crappy thing is something like, there's this town, there's this wizard, and the wizard builds this machine to transport energy around town, and that energy, that machine is Taron. But these wizards are also working on a time machine, and that's Rake. Rake makes more sense because there actually is time machine related elements on the ride.
Right.
That is the storyline to that area.
But that's because Rake was there before, right?
No.
They built Rake at the same time.
Yeah. It makes no sense. What they did is they went, I want to build a medieval style area. Done. Let's think of this theme that we could, a story that we could tack onto it. You know what I mean?
Okay, but imagine they didn't do that and they just built a medieval area.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Which would be the same.
Then what story would you like them to tell you about Taron that would make it good?
I don't know. That's not my job.
No, you can't do that.
What do you mean?
Because what story is going to be... Nothing would make sense.
Okay, no, you could say that Taron is...
I don't think it needs a story. It's just a cool area. It's like a different time. It's cool enough.
Substance for me, personally, and many will disagree.
Okay, what about... What's the area called again? I've forgotten the name.
Klugheim.
What about if it was just a cool story about Klugheim and how it was like an enchanted town?
I mean, that's basically what the story is.
So what's wrong with that?
It's boring.
Oh my god, you're so funny.
No, it annoys me purely because it's a really half-baked story that doesn't make any sense. That's all it...
So what, you want them to not build a medieval place because you can't make a story that's good?
I want you either to commit or don't commit.
Yeah, but if they didn't have a story, you'd be like, there's no story to this. It doesn't make any sense.
But there isn't a story anyway,
So what I'm saying is, imagine, think about how cool Klugheim is.
It's very cool.
It's stunning.
It looks great.
So you want them to just forget about that and don't bother because there's no story.
But you could have baked the story into it. I don't know, like Taron is some invaders, a machine that invaders built to try and, take over the city.
No, I can't be bothered with all these, oh my god, this is a machine and blah, 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 blah. The only time that works is on something like Fly. Do you know what I mean? Because steampunk or whatever it is about machines. If you turn around to me and go, we're an enchanted forest and someone's made a machine just because it's a roller coaster, that drives me insane.
Anyway, yeah, so there you go. Don't know.
Okay. I see what you mean about how... But this is why I said to you, some will not be in a firm category. They'll be between two of them.
Yeah, but basing your categories on things that they have to tick off, I don't think works.
Why?
Because as I just said, certain rides at the top end of the category don't have things that are in the top end of the category, like a storyline.
But
Whereas
I would
certain rides
argue,
lower in the category do, like Oblivion has a storyline, or Nemesis has a storyline, one that makes much more sense than the ones in the top scale. So in my eyes, you have to look at it as a package, of like, what does Icon offer in terms of theming? It's got these good aesthetic design, a nice soundtrack that fits that. So it gets 1.5. Nemesis has the nice station building, a soundtrack, a storyline. I don't know, 2.3.
so you'd rather do like a point out of 10 system where you go,
Yeah.
you've got 5 out of 10 things that you need to be a completely themed ride.
Yeah, so you rate the elements that it does have, and that kind of all contributes to how far of a theme it is.
But that still doesn't work because to you, Taron doesn't have a story, but to
Yeah.
me it does.
What's the story, though?
You've just told me what the story is.
No, but that's not a story.
No, but Harry.
Okay,
No, listen to me. It has a story, but you don't like it.
No, that's not true.
What you're just saying.
It has a story that is not explained.
Okay, so
which is practically not a story.
So-
If your ride can't explain its origin without having people to have to read about it, then it is not a story.
Can
Simple
I
as.
just say, if you hadn't told me the story of the Smiler, I would not know what it was.
No, of course, and there is.
So it doesn't have a story.
There is, yes. So there is levels of storytelling.
What are you talking about?
But this
You're
is it.
so contradictory.
No, this is not contradictory.
You are.
This is not contradictory.
Also, if you hadn't told me the story of Nemesis, I wouldn't know. Any of them, I wouldn't know.
See, this is where it gets a bit messy, because Nemesis used to have a soundtrack that used to talk the story while you waited.
Okay. But what I mean is, unless you're going on Wicker Man, where there's a pre-show and they say, welcome to Wicker Man, we're the people of whatever, blah, blah, blah. They tell you
Yeah,
the whole
they tell
story.
you the
You know
story.
the story.
Yes, but
Unless you're doing that,
No,
there isn't a story.
Certain rides you can gain the story.
Right, but I could
via
probably
the-
gain the story from Taron.
No, you can't.
Well, you told me it's an enchanted medieval town and that's the story.
Yeah.
I got that.
No, you didn't.
How do you know what I got?
No, if I asked you what's the story of Taron, right, before I told you, you wouldn't have been able to give me anything.
But I would have been
Hands
able to
down.
tell you that we're in a medieval town.
Wow, well done.
But if we did the same thing to the Smiler, I would have been able to tell you something's creepy's going on, and that'd be the end of it. I wouldn't know what it was. I wouldn't know that it was a government-like scheme and they're trying to make you happy.
But well, I mean, I think you can definitely infer that that's the case. That they're trying to make you happy.
So for
Only because
Taron,
the name is the Smiler. All of the graphics have people that going from like being sad to happy. Right? There's join us. There's smile always. All of these things are said in the queue line via audio and visuals. You can build a picture.
Right, so you're telling me if Taron had a little statue of a wizard man and some other little props that were like
Yeah, I would be happier.
saying stuff about a wizard,
I would genuinely be happier.
you'd be like, you can infer that there's a wizard that built this thing.
Yeah, seriously, yeah,
But wouldn't that look absolutely ridiculous if there was a wizard?
probably.
That's
Look out of
probably
place.
why they didn't do it.
Of course, so they choose a better story.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Anyway,
this is so funny.
So that's my rant about why Taron doesn't have a storyline.
We should not have
isn't as
picked
good as-
Taron.
I picked it particularly because I always.
I
liked
know,
it.
but you're confusing your personal opinions.
But my personal opinion.
You're meant to be the robot here. You should be going through the checklist saying it's got this, it's got this.
But that is a part of the checklist. In a good ride, right? A good ride people should be able to infer the story.
So one of your checklists for advanced theming
Yeah.
is an obvious story.
Is being able to infer the story from the theming elements the ride has. And obviously, like all of the things, that's a scale. Whereas, some of the scale you get told directly. Wicker Man, it's quite high end because it tells you the story. Smiler would be lower because you have to infer it based on these elements, but it still exists.
Yeah. See, I would say peak is Wicker Man because it's directly telling you the story without it being like, here's the story of Wicker. Like, you don't realise that they're directly telling you the story, if that makes sense. It's just part of the experience. Like, it's not a chore type situation where you just have to sit there and like listen to it.
Anyway, yeah. So my checklist for theming on rides
Okay.
is Yeah, a coherent theme, generally. Which means stylized to a medieval village, for example.
Okay.
So Tarrant would be a coherent
yeah.
theme. Then audio that matches that coherent theme.
Is this your like ideal
This
theme?
is ideal.
Okay.
Smells that match that coherent theme. Then you have a sense of purpose. And I think a sense of purpose is different to the story in a way.
So would you say that Icon has a sense of purpose?
No.
Okay.
No sense of purpose. No story.
Yeah.
I guess they are linked. Sense of purpose and story are kind of together.
But basically it has to be a good story.
Yeah, it has to...
Make sense.
Make sense
It has
enough.
to be like justified.
Yeah.
As to why it's a thing.
That's a good a good way to put it. Justified story which gives it a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
This isn't just a ride in the middle of a field. There's a reason this ride is here, and it has, you go on some sort of story as you ride it.
Okay. Just on the story, is one of your checklists that it has to involve the guests?
I mean, if you put a story that doesn't involve the guests, then I don't know how that works anyway. Well, I mean...
Okay,
no.
Thinking about it, all the best ones do involve the
course
guests. Yeah.
I mean, Nemesis is one, going back, doesn't really involve the guests, except you're riding the...
It kind of does because you're the ones in danger of the
I guess, yeah.
monster.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the whole point really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the final stage would be anticipation, a build-up, some atmosphere.
Okay, we haven't talked about Kanon this whole time.
Yeah.
But I would say your favourite anticipation is Kanon.
Yes, because it builds up that sense of story through both obvious and not obvious storytelling. So it has a whole kind of kind of like a documentary going through it. Mm-hmm. So, the whole point is they're like hex. They're
like
excavating.
mini pre-shows.
Yeah, they're excavating in this tower.
Okay.
And then they've ran into this spooky thing, and then you get like a pre-show of the
choosing
curse.
The doors thing.
Yeah, you get a pre-show of the curse. Then you get a weird pre-show that's actually the baggage hold.
Yeah.
Then you get the choosing of the doors. Then you get the whole ride, which itself is, so there's multiple levels, and at each level builds up that anticipation, makes the story more detailed, and then obviously combined with audio. I don't think there's any smells, sad, because I could really use smells to a good advantage.
Yeah.
Being in the bottom of a castle. But yeah, it's a good case. It's a high on the list in terms of a themed ride with a coherent storyline.
Yeah.
So
is that all you want?
I don't know what else there is.
Do you think it's vital to have signs?
What do you mean signs?
Themed signs.
What do you mean themed signs?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Like, the Smiler has all different signs around the area. Like posters of people smiling and...
Yeah, because that's what the theme is. Each theme, you tell it in a different story, in a different way, right?
Yeah. But then there's things like signs that would ordinarily be just a basic sign, but then they've changed it to make it themed. So, like, the one before you get to the pre-show in Wicker Man where it says...
Don't eat.
You can't... Basically, the sign would be, like, no food from this point.
Yeah.
But it's like, put away your food, like, it does not please the Wicker Man or something.
Sure. It all adds to it.
Okay.
It's better than nothing. Better than just a standard sign. It's not crucial.
What about lighting?
Yeah, lighting plays a big part. But lighting plays a big part in building atmosphere and anticipation. Mm-hmm. Because any ride can benefit from that lighting, not just ones with themes.
Yeah. But I also think elements like, it's kind of like special effects in a way, like fire and smoke. That elevates it so much because it changes the whole atmosphere of the rooms or whatever.
So that's a good point. Another point would be guest interaction.
Okay, what has that got to do with smoke?
No, well, this is what you said. To building a successful ride and a whole themed package, you want to be able to experience your ride on multiple levels. Not just on it, but also off it.
Okay.
The best rides.
Yeah, so when you're looking at it.
The best rides are like visual experiences for those off-ride and on-ride. Mm-hmm. So with Wicker Man, it's obvious. The fire, you don't really notice it when you're on the ride, do you? Let's be honest, of Wicker Man.
Not the fire, but the fog or whatever it's called.
The fire, basically purely for the people off the ride, really, isn't it?
It makes it look very intimidating.
Exactly. You don't really notice when you're on the ride because everything's going too quick. The fog and the mist and, getting hit with water, though that's for the people on the ride. And that level of interactivity makes the experience better.
Yeah.
Adds a different layer of, atmosphere to the entire experience. So that's another thing that you kind of want to build on top of that. And then you can get that via interaction between the track and the path. So Terran, obviously weaving through all of the land is quite a good way to build up that anticipation and build up that interactivity. So
okay, here's a big question then. I think we've discussed this before, but how important is theming to you in terms of how much does it put you off a ride if it's not themed?
So theming itself is a decent deal to me. It's not a be-all and end-all. What is a be-all and end-all in my book, which is why Wildfire let me down so much, it's atmosphere and anticipation. If a ride has no atmosphere or anticipation, it's dead to me. It's dull. Honestly, it's dull because I'm going on it and I'm like, this is a roller coaster. I don't know. I'm not excited by it. I should be, but I'm not.
Surely, okay, what's a huge American ride that's like, what's the top one? Steel Vengeance. What theming is that going to have?
Doesn't.
So how are you expecting that to be any different than Wildfire?
I'm not.
So you're saying if there's not going to be any build-up from any kind of theming, whether that be music or the whole package, you're not going to enjoy it?
Yeah, so what kind of Wildfire perhaps lacks, due to its park and not itself, is the fact that it's the only big roller coaster in the park. Not many people are riding it. There's no real sense of, I don't know, people aren't giving off a vibe. I imagine if you went over to Cedar Point and rode Steel Vengeance, everyone there themselves would be quite excited and there would be a bit of a buzz.
Okay.
Did you think there was a buzz for Wildfire?
No.
Exactly. So Wildfire's a different case, but again, if there is no buzz, and you can create that buzz by being a good ride, a really good ride that people know is a good ride, or you artificially create that buzz through theming and a soundtrack and additional features.
Okay. I'm still not convinced though, because...
But why?
Because why would Wildfire be any different? Like, just because people might not know that it's meant to be this amazing ride, I don't think that's going to change much. Because surely the GP over in America don't know that Steel Vengeance is meant to be an amazing ride.
No, but perhaps...
So not everybody in the queue's going to be like, oh my god, we're going on Steel Vengeance.
The atmosphere at Cedar Point, I imagine, just generally is more interesting.
Okay.
It's a tricky one, I know.
I think you were less enthralled with Wildfire than I was, and generally Colmarden.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought the park had a nice vibe.
No, it did, as a zoo.
I guess.
And I think
I don't know. I
difference.
think I just made my own hype in my head, so...
No, I didn't. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So for me, yeah, the big part is anticipation, a buzz, real kind of, this is exciting. Mm-hmm. That's the major factor for me for deciding if a ride's good or not.
And the way you do that is theming. So therefore, theming is important.
The most, I don't know, practical
easiest,
way of doing it is theming, yeah. Usually a soundtrack is the only thing you need to do that.
Yeah, music's very powerful.
Have a good soundtrack and you'll generate anticipation to the ride, usually. So
that's like, an example would be Jewel. Because if you took Jewel and just gave it a mediocre or like pretty rubbish soundtrack, it would be quite shocking because inside
it's not great.
The models are really obviously models.
Oh,
that's
old. It's all old.
Obviously it's got good smells and good lighting, but if you took all the music away, it would just be nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, the music is so powerful in that ride.
Similar to Hex, that soundtrack makes it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have that soundtrack, it wouldn't be anywhere near as atmospheric or interesting. So yeah, totally. I don't know, what about for you then? I mean, just to say, like, I love a heavily themed coaster as much as the next guy, but I understand that it's not always practical to theme a ride. and it's difficult to create a storyline that's coherent and interesting.
Well, I think the thing is, like, you can't theme every ride to the
No.
advanced level, otherwise they'd all be just do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wouldn't stand out.
And you can't theme every part of the ride
Yeah,
to the high standard either.
except when it's Wicker Man.
Well, Wicker Man, isn't exactly all themed, is it? There's still bits that could have been better.
Obviously, that's the same for anything in the whole
Exactly,
world.
that's what I'm trying to say.
I appreciate a good theme. I am not like you where I'm hating on the old theme. That's the general like cowboys,
Overdone.
whatever. I know it's overdone, but what I'm saying is I'd rather see that theme than nothing at all.
Yeah, okay.
So even when they do that, I appreciate that it's done. So take like Tornado Springs. It's a new area for this year or next year, and it's a pretty generic theme.
Ish.
American Cars
Yeah.
is generic.
I
But
guess,
I
but
think-
you don't really see many areas that are themed to that actually be themed, if you see what I mean. They're never usually that detailed. Does that make sense? Same with
But that's what I'm saying to you.
same with westerns.
Is
Most
that-
of the time they're crap.
But that's what I'm saying. I think you focus on what the theme is rather than like how well it's done. Because Tornado Springs looks amazing. Just because it's a generic type of theme doesn't mean it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I guess I give bonus points to a theme that's unique. So if you have a unique theme, it doesn't have to be done as well as if you have a very boring and used theme. You have to do it immaculately to get the same level of appreciation.
Yeah.
So-
Well, that's like playing the classics, isn't it?
Exactly.
You've got
so,
to do it well.
Like Wicker Man, no one else is going to build that.
No.
It's a very unique theme. I mean, practically most themes at Towers, Smiler, very unique theme.
But this is tricky because imagine, let's talk about it in cake form. If you made a Victoria sponge sandwich, it's a classic. It's very simple. You have to get it right.
Yeah.
Everybody makes it all the time, but everybody loves a Victoria sandwich. It's very universal taste. If you made a chocolate, not a chocolate, if you made a coffee and walnut cake, yes, it might be incredible and like very unique, but like it narrows down the people who are going to like it or get it, if that makes sense.
I don't think that's true. Maybe for cakes it is, but I don't think that's true for themes. I don't think you narrow your audience by choosing a unique theme if you sell it well enough.
If you sell it well enough, but what I'm saying is you have to do it very well to be able to. You have to have a big budget and a big idea, which is probably why most parks just say, let's do a Western theme, because they know that everybody's going to immediately know what it is, even if you have a really like
I guess
rubbish,
it's true.
waxy donkey in the corner. They're all going to know that it's a donkey and it's Western.
Yeah, you don't.
And
have
they're
to
not
put as
gonna
much, Yeah, detail into it for people to understand what it is.
So
It's true.
if you've got a smaller budget, but you still want a theme, then it's easier to do one that's been done before, or one that everybody already knows.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't create the Smiler on a budget. Let's be real.
There you go.
Should we have a look at what everyone else said?
Yes. So number 2 fan of the podcast, Joel, says, whilst it's not really elaborately themed, Alpengeist has loads of nice little ski-related details around the ride, like a slope difficulty rating in the station, skis on the back of the cars. It also has a lift hill that's made to resemble a ski lift.
Oh, that's cool.
And really has a really nice entrance sign too. Again, though, would that be stylization? Or
To
would it
me,
be a
that's
theme?
standard theming, but to you...
Only because it's a generic...
No, because it's got props.
Oh, but,
It's making an effort. It's saying, look, here's a ski. We're doing
yeah, but
alpine.
what's the theme?
Alpine. Skiing.
Sure.
Alpine skiing. That's
There you
the
go.
theme.
Joel likes that one. It's good. I think
Okay.
it looks good. It's pretty outdated, but it looks good. It's old, though.
JH says, I don't think theming is too important. If a ride doesn't have theming, I don't really care, but if it does, cool. I just think a ride should be well presented and look nice.
Yes, every ride should be stylized, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Or even just given a colour scheme and a sign
Well,
entrance.
it's stylized, isn't it? As long as it looks good and has a coherent aesthetic design,
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah.
You're golden. We just don't want it to be on a parking lot. Thomas says, I think theming is key for the experience at a park. There you go.
Tom Fishno says, the main reason I have no urge to visit most American parks is the lack of good or unique theming. I think theming should continue on ride, i.e. the Marmalizer, Wicker Man, and should always incorporate storytelling, not just rock work or a few sheds. There's got to be a real story. Well, I think you and Tom are going to get on here.
Yeah, man. Zomboss, for me, theming that tells a story is my favourite, e.g. the indoor part of Carnan's queue line. So there you go. I think that's definitely the next level, is always when there is a story that's being told. As he says, I think facades and entrance signs play a big role in theming, especially because they're the first impression of a ride. I think the facade and entrance to Huracan at... I know how to say this, but I can't remember how to say it. At that park in Belgium works especially well. I also like huge theming structures, like on Wicker Man and Colossus.
Yeah, I do too, actually. I think if you've got a park and you've got one ride with a huge theming element, that's good.
Merlin like their big theming elements,
Yeah,
because they're a spectacle for people off-ride.
Yeah.
Which again plays into the thing, like, you know, it's just a focal point.
Yeah. And also it's like with Disney castles, it's like an Instagram type situation. They're going to get promotion from it, but...
Same with the Marmalizer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one kind of densely isolated piece of theming, but instead of, you know, scattering it out across the ride, like, say, Taron would,
Yeah.
you know, build this one big structure that everyone looks at.
It's a weenie.
Yeah. It's an interesting play. Obviously, the best of both would be to do both. Build comprehensive theming across the whole layout and then build this big structure as well.
Yeah.
But it's expensive.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'd be interested to hear, you know, what you thought of our scale of theming.
Whose side are you on is the question.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting topic, and yeah, I don't really think there's a right or wrong answer. It's as I said, it's all kind of blurred together anyway.
Well, it's essentially art, so it's you know, Harry just rolled his eyes.
Yeah,
it is though, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
art, so you're gonna have your own opinion and your own like what's the word?
take.
Yeah.
Interpretation.
Yeah.
But some interpretations are wrong.
Some interpretations are wrong.
Surely the person who designed it had a specific interpretation in mind.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean yours is wrong.
I'm joking.
Yeah. You're really not. Yeah. I think there's many right answers that are probably all very similar. Do you know what I mean?
No.
If they've done it correctly, then you won't have
right,
people
I see.
thinking
Yeah,
that the smile is about fairies. Do you know what I mean?